So my first day in Paris, I landed around 12:30 noonish, and because of the EES system it took us an hour and change to get out of the airport, but I had planned for that. Then I took the metro. That was honestly pretty fast, maybe like a half hour. Let me just say that the public transportation in Paris actually blew me away. I loved the Tokyo and honestly the Kyoto public transportation and Seoul's public transportation. But what I really loved about Paris's public transportation that we don't have in New York, the metro doors usually open on the same side. So I got on the train with my big old suitcase and I'm like, okay, I'm in Paris and I'm sweating and I'm hungry and thirsty and what if I'm too early to the check-in, la 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 la. I huddle by this area, everybody, there's no open seats, I just want to not be in everyone's way. And we get to the next stop and the doors open on the other side. And I'm like, oh my God, amazing. What a great luck. Go to the next station. Doors open on that same side. I'm like, wait, this is amazing. Is this true? Two for two? And then we get to the third and the fourth and the fifth, and I realize that the doors are opening always on the same side. And I'm like, damn, I don't have to shuffle around and move my things so other people can get in the way like I do in New York. This is amazing. This is amazing. So that was a huge plus, a huge win when I'm just getting into the thick of it. Yeah, so anyway, so I arrived to my hotel. I'm a bit early, but the staff was super nice. They had free croissants and free coffee, so I had to stay awake until 10 p.m. I indulged in that beautiful croissant and that beautiful coffee. But once I got into my room, I kind of put things away. I put on my pajamas, and then I took a quick jet lag nap, which was 2.5 hours. It was so hard for me to wake up, but I needed to do it. So I just kept telling myself, you're in Paris, you need to get up, you need to fix your sleeping schedule, and you need to go see something before you go to sleep tonight. So I walked. I walked to the soccer court, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, the soccer court is super steep uphill battle, and I'll have to put in a picture of what it looks like from the top of Notre Dame. You can really see how high the hill is. Of course, it's a beautiful experience, and I wanted to go there specifically so I could see the sunset from that view where you see all of Paris. I get to the cathedral. I was like, okay, let's go inside. And as soon as I walked inside, the service started, the mass started, and the organ started playing, and I could not stop crying. My tears were just flowing and flowing. I was like, why am I crying? Why am I crying? This is crazy. This is just my first day. Why am I so emotional? And I think it really hit me that I was there by myself and that I had gotten to this place safely, and, these dreams are going to come true. So it was super, super cathartic, and just being in a church all the while, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is holy even. And I just walked around the cathedral crying and trying not to cry, and then crying again. Why am I stopping myself from crying? Let me just cry. And then also, why am I crying in front of all these tourists and Parisians who are in mass at the soccer court? But then I kind of pulled it together, and I walked outside and enjoyed the view. There's some music buskers and just people sitting down on the steps watching the sunset. And I walked around. I found a beautiful little bench, and one of the musicians who was performing in the little piazza in front of the soccer court started singing "Knocking on Heaven's Door," and her voice literally sounded like Lana Del Rey. And I had been listening to Lana the whole time that I left my apartment in Jersey and had gotten to my hotel in Paris, and I just the only thing I could listen to was Lana that whole time, and just hearing her sing and sound just like Lana, and that song also, I was like, this is just too much. And then I started crying obviously in a happy way. This lady literally sounds like Lana, and I can't stop crying. That literally sounds like Lana. I just I couldn't stop crying, and it was I think it was a beautiful moment, something that I'll never forget. Very, very cathartic, and I think that everyone who travels has this moment and multiple moments, but especially solo female travelers who happen to be eldest daughters of immigrant families will understand this moment. I again collect myself and I decide that I'm going to this restaurant for dinner for my first meal called Le 17.45. And it's like a build your own charcuterie restaurant. And I saw, it had great reviews. It was in a cute area. It wasn't too far from the soccer core. So I make my way, and it was the first time where I was like, oh, like I had been trying to practice how to say like my French is not that good. Obviously I can kill the bonjour, but I can't like I couldn't figure out how to say like, my French is not that good. I was like, okay, let me just go parlez-vous anglais. So that's what I did, and the people were so nice, like at this restaurant specifically. They were super helpful, and it was just like my first introduction to Parisian like niceness and breaking down the stereotype that they were all super rude. And sure, maybe I had to do like, it's a little bit of a give and take. I spoke a little French in the beginning, and I said that I can't speak good French, But anyway, so ended up working out, and I ordered my beautiful charcuterie plate. I got chorizo, duck pate, cornichons, fig jam, and these 2 types of cheese, and of course bread for the table, but that's complimentary, and some delicious Chardonnay. And it was, oh my god, it was so good. My favorite thing was definitely the goat cheese that I got in. I was really surprised. I liked it more. I ordered brie, and I liked it more than the brie. So it was a perfect introduction to the beautiful, beautiful cuisine scene and quality of ingredients of Paris and Europe in general. But then I walked back to my hotel during Blue Hour, and honestly, that was such a beautiful moment as well, like transitioning from day to night. I love experiencing that just anywhere, but especially in Paris. It reminded me of in Spirited Away when, the sun goes down in the bathhouse, turns into this new place where the spirits are coming in and they're getting cleansed. So it just felt like a whole different Paris. And it reminded me of the quote, the Van Gogh quote, where he goes that there's no blue without yellow or without orange. And like you see all the street lights in that European orangey yellow hue with the dusk of the blue sky that had just come. So it was beautiful, and it was exactly what I had wanted my first jet lag night to look like. So I went to bed, I slept pretty good, and then for my first full day in Paris, I had planned to go to the Grand Palais, which is kind of like an underrated museum, I think. Most people won't say that that's their like bucket list museum, but I had learned on TikTok a week before my trip that Hilma af Klint's collection was on display at the Grand Palais. Hey! And it was there until August 30th, so I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. Like, this is my favorite artist, and her whole collection, like, I've used these pictures for, like, computer backgrounds, for my iPhone background, for stupid, like, Notion backgrounds, and I've just, like, been obsessed with her art for so long, and here she is, like, her collection is here in Paris, and I have to go see it. So I go to my local boulangerie for breakfast. I feel like with traveling, we get so obsessed with the recommendations. And don't get me wrong, I obviously, most of the places I will mention are recommendations, but also the best boulangerie or the best cafe or the best bar is the one that's closest to you. It's not the one that insert every undisclosed ad influencer recommendation here, okay, that barely ate the appetizer. Like, it's not that. It's whatever's closest to you. And I had walked around the corner from my hotel. I found this super cute boulangerie. It is called Tranché Batignolles Boulangerie Engagée. And it is absolutely delicious. And I know I just said don't take recommendations, but this one, if you happen to be in the area, it was so delicious. I got a Queen Amman, which is literally a stick of butter, but bread in it. It was so delicious, absolutely delicious. Like, that is gluttony. Like, it is my favorite pastry, I think. But then I had my quick breakfast. I headed off to the Grand Palais. The only thing about the Grand Palais is I believe you have to pay per exhibit, and it's not, full entrance to the whole museum. And I think it's because there's just so many big artists on display. So they also had Matisse there when I was there. But I was like, okay, I'm here to see my girl Hilma. I'm not paying another €15 to see Matisse, whatever. So I had an insane experience. Just like, I couldn't believe that the paintings that were in front of me were the paintings that she made. And, we were finally meeting. It just was so cathartic as well, and I'm speechless to even bring it up. It's hard to put into words, but I feel like people who love art and love traveling to see art will understand that feeling. And it was so funny. I had asked this darling Parisian gal to take my picture by this art. And she was super, super sweet. And obviously I offered to take her picture as well. She's like, no, I do not photograph goods. I was like, girl, come on. Like, what about Hilma's paintings? She was like, oh, no. But do not hesitate to ask me again if you want me to take a picture for you. I was like, oh my God, like, people are so nice. This is literally like hour 20 and people are so, so nice. Like, who in New York would be like, don't hesitate to ask me to take another picture? New Yorkers are nice though, obviously, but you know what I mean. So I had a wonderful experience at the Grand Palais, and just experiencing Hilma's work, I highly recommend just diving into her paintings. I feel like she was so ahead of her time, and most of her fans will say this, but it is so true. Just like her analysis of gender in her paintings and life and death and just the experience of the human spirit blew my mind. Just to see it in person, obviously, but then to understand the context from the little museum, like, explainer cards, like, wow, like, she's a genius. She's literally a genius. Yes, so I highly recommend diving into Hilma F. Klint and her work. But after I finished experiencing her beautifulness, I crossed the street and I went to the Petit Palais, which is the smaller palace, which was huge and beautiful, just like as the Parisians and the French do. But it was so magical. Inside, there was this beautiful courtyard that I think is pretty well known, and there's a cafe that's definitely well known that's in the courtyard. I did not want to wait in line, so I did not eat there, but I walked maybe 10 or 15 minutes east to this area closer to the Louvre. I had a cafe saved called Les Nemours, a very French with outside seating restaurant. The prices were really normal for being super close to the Louvre, so I highly recommend, and they had a huge amount of space, like, for people to sit down. And I had this delicious bacon and blue cheese, like, BLT, and a Hugo Spritz. I had no complaints. And I got to sit outside like a local and just, like, people watch. It's just like another thing that I loved about Paris that I did not experience in Italy and Spain. Maybe they do it, I don't know. But from my memory, from when I was there as a wee girl, Paris has all of the chairs facing the street. So, like, you are in it, like, you are witnessing what's happening on the street or, like, what people are talking about, instead of you facing whoever you're eating your meal with. And I really love that. I really, like, feel like I was put on this earth to people watch and analyze and be this on-the-go anthropologist. So I really connected with that, and I got to experience that at Les Nemours. But I was about to pass out, so thank God that I got to this place. I actually had to buy a Coke Zero from, like, a magazine stall on the way here because I was so dehydrated and it was so hot. Like, the whole time I was in Paris, I loved this weather. It was a high of like 86 every day and zero cloud coverage. Like, oh, this is my paradise. But I wasn't dehydrated because I did not have space in my bag for a water bottle. So I was like, I can do this. Like, I'm European. They don't drink water. And then I was like, oh, I have to pass out. I need sugar. So I got that Coke Zero. But then Les Nemours meal cured me. After I finished my meal, I was like, okay, let's go. We got to keep going. I need to go to the pharmacy to get some goodies. So I walked along, I forget what road, but it's like a straight shot to this pharmacy that was pretty well known on TikTok, has really good prices, and it's huge. It's in a mall. It's called Pharmacie du Forum des Halles. I was like, okay, I need to go there. And on the way, I stopped at this lovely French perfume store called Roger and Gallet. And it's kind of like budgety, like a step up from Bath and Body Works, right? So the things that I bought like a perfume concentrate, a roll-on oil for like $20. Like, that's amazing. I highly recommend that brand. I also stopped at Aroma Zone, which is a fully like organic skin care, body care company in Paris. Apparently that's where like all the French girls go. I bought some cute stuff there too. But then I finally made it to the pharmacy, and it was actually so huge. Like, I wish I could describe to you how big this pharmacy was, but it kind of felt like the perfume aisle in the SpongeBob episode, in a good way though. In a good way where I was like, I wish I could buy everything. And the pharmacists were super, super nice. They were like really intelligent and not just behind like the CVS counter, you know, asking you if you have any questions about your prescription. They were like, oh, I recommend this, I recommend this. Sometimes it did feel like a little salesperson-y at Sephora, but I feel like they don't really get a commission because nobody asks you like for their name. Maybe more so like, okay, we need to sell this many Clarins today. But I kind of did like a safe face strategy and I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'll take it. And then I'd like take a lap and then put it back on the shelf. So you could do that. But they did have everything that I could possibly imagine on my wish list and more. So I highly recommend this place. And I spent $300 there. Perfect, perfect, perfect. But that's why I come to you today with this face card. And obviously some of those were gifts, so don't play. But I'm going to be making a separate video of everything that I bought and all those details, so make sure to tune in for that. So after the pharmacy, I ran back to my hotel and got ready, took a little beat because I had booked my Seine River cruise for that day. I decided I wanted to go a little bit closer to sunset. I booked with a cult classic Seine River cruise tour called Bateau Mouches. Bateau Mouches? And I loved it. So I highly recommend that as well. You don't have to book like a time slot. You can just go whenever on the day, which I think is super helpful for someone who's trying to travel max like myself on a solo trip. I get off the bus to the area where we're, leaving from, the pier that we're leaving from, and I see the Eiffel Tower for the first time. And it leaves such an impression on you. I feel like I finally understand New York tourists seeing, the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building or just like the skyline in general. Like, it really just leaves an impression on you. So super, super excited to go on the tour. I'm waiting in line and I hear this lady talking to these other ladies in English, and she's asking where these like older ladies are from. They're probably like in their 70s, I swear. And they say New Jersey. I was like, oh my God, like I'm from New Jersey too. So we have a little key on the line. The other lady was from California, and I ended up sitting next to her on the Seine River cruise. And she's also a history teacher. So I got like an audio guide with the ticket, but I actually had a real life audio guide with my Californian buddy. She was super nice. And also she's probably like around my mom's age, like mid-50s, late 50s, and it was just like nice to have like a maternal figure, kind of like looking into the future of like, you're here by yourself. She was with the group, but she was here by herself, traveling and doing whatever she wanted. I'm like, that's gonna be me. And we had like, and this is another thing that I love about talking to people while you're traveling, at least by yourself specifically, is that you just kind of dive into it. Like, there really is no small talk. I had a big trip last year and I planned everything to the T, and now I'm here and like I can't believe I'm by myself, and like just like learning how to let go of control. And like we had talked about being an eldest daughter and all these things, and she had given me like book recommendations, and then she had said this line that, if you feel like you need to run away, you can just run away and go travel somewhere, even if it's a local place, and tell your job that it's a family emergency because you are your family too. And I'm like, damn, I never thought about that. I never thought about seeing myself in that way, being my own entity in my family, is instead of the usual, like, I am a part of this family and I have to think for everything else. Like, it was a huge perspective shift. And then she says this to me and I'm trying not to cry. Thank God I have my sunglasses on. But I'm just like, I'm on the Seine River cruise, like, at the sunset, and I'm in Paris, and this is all like so kismet. So it was very beautiful, emotional moment. And I thank that Californian queen for giving me that wisdom. But yeah, I can not recommend more to do a Seine River cruise when you're in Paris. You get to see everything, you get to be on the water. There's nothing like being on the Seine and seeing all of Paris. And once you go under these bridges, like everybody like screams, and I think that's super fun too. It's a little tradition, and the people on the bridges looking down at you are waving or doing 6-7, and it's just like a fun human moment, and I highly recommend. I think you have to if you're going to Paris. So after I was done with my Seine River cruise, I was like, okay, we gotta eat, girl. Let's go to this local classic French bistro for dinner, and I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna get, some steak and an appetizer, and just like, this is gonna be the meal. The French I'm in Paris meal. Congratulations, you did your solo trip. It was so funny. I ended up going to that restaurant called La Fontaine de Mars. They were pretty close to where I had docked, but they were super nice. I was only one person, and they made space for me in this little corner. So they like grabbed a table, put it down, and it was right by like the bartender's window. So like the waiters would come and grab like the appetizers from like right above my table. At first I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Of course they put like a solo traveler here, like this measly old little woman in this corner. And then I was like, wait, I'm like so Parisian right now. Like I'm watching everything happen. Just outside, like this omniscient observer. So I ended up really enjoying that location in the restaurant. I got the sangria aperitif. I had tried escargot, which I honestly really liked. I was a little surprised. I was like, okay, so the snails, now they taste good. Okay. And then I had ordered a seared beef loin with french fries and béarnaise sauce, and that was absolutely delicious. I can taste it right now. But I tried to rush out of the restaurant. I said no dessert because I want to see the Eiffel Tower sparkle. So I'm like running, and I missed it by like maybe 30 seconds. But, to quote my California Seine River Cruise teacher buddy, who then quoted Rick Stevens to me, assume that you'll be back. You can't do everything in one trip, obviously. But I feel like when you're traveling, you feel like you can, and you really push yourself to do that. But Rick Stevens, assume you'll be back. So that's what I told myself. So I was just walking around, seeing the Eiffel Tower now lit at night, and which is a whole like new Eiffel Tower. It leaves an even larger impression on you, and you just like can't believe that you're here and you're looking right at it. And I had met a darling Minnesota couple who participated in my picture-for-picture strategy. So I thank them for my Eiffel Tower picture. So I walked around just the area, which you need to do it. You need to do it at night, and you need to do it in the day. But I will say, catching public transportation from this area is a nightmare. I could not make it on my bus because it was so crowded, but I ended up just walking, which is a plus, the biggest plus in Paris, that you can just literally walk anywhere and make it to your destination in probably less than 30 minutes. So I walked to the closest metro station, which was probably like 25 minutes. And I guess I was rushing so hard that this couple thought that I lived there, and they had asked me for directions. And I heard that their accent, I feel like they were East Asian presenting. They were speaking this like kind of like Russian language. So I'm like, okay, maybe a Kazakhstan or a Mongolia vibe. Not that that matters, but just to give you an idea that they were not Parisian. And I was like, oh, like, I'll just look it up on my phone. They were trying to get to their hotel. And then this lady takes a picture of my phone with her phone. I was like, baby, like, you can't open up like your maps and like type in your phone. I don't know. But anyways, I was happy to help. But yeah, it was giving local, me trying to get to my hotel. Yeah, I was like, I have to walk. I'm not biking. I don't want to die. I don't have a helmet. So I walked around and it gave local. But then I went to sleep, and then I woke up for the most darling day 3. So this was my Giverny Vernon Monet's house day, from an hour-ish train from Saint-Lazare to Vernon. And once you get to Vernon, you have a choice to take a shuttle bus to Giverny or rent a bike for the day and bike there. And there was a beautiful bike path. So I was like, what do I look like taking a stupid shuttle bus when I could bike in this cute, quaint town in Normandy and experience the countryside? Mind you, I was not wearing any sunscreen because I didn't think I was going to be in the direct sun all day, but I got badly sunburnt, which I will show you later. I took the first train out, rode this into Vernon. I saw this guy straight out of the train who was just had this chalkboard that said 15 euros bike rental for the day. So I follow him, and he's like, oh, I have the bikes at my house. I was like, am I about to die right now? And he had this huge collection of bikes. So I was like, okay, this is the right place. And then I was on my way. But it was around like a 20-minute, it was honestly probably 30 minutes of a bike ride because there are some hills, and also I stopped at every beautiful thing to take a picture of it. The countryside was just truly beautiful, like seeing the French provincial half-timbered architecture. I was like, oh my God, like this is it. And I saw some cows, saw some beautiful fields with poppies. I'm like, this is the best thing. And just experiencing Euro summer in real time, I was like, wow, I'm freaking here, man. I'm here. So I went to Monet's house. I see this beautiful big line for non-ticketed holders. Like, I did not have a ticket, so I stand in this line for literally 2.5 hours. But I made friends, thankfully. You know, I was like, when am I going to be here? The next time in my life, like in the near future, when am I going to be in this exact place? So I stayed on that line. And I don't wait in lines, but I had to. And obviously it was so beautiful. It was so worth it. But I highly recommend that you buy these tickets in advance, at least a month in advance, because they go fast. So then I biked back to Vernon like a crazy person because I wanted to make my train. It felt like the Tour de France. I was pumping my legs up the hill. God, but this is why we gym. And I got embarrassingly sunburned. I will insert the picture, Jesus Christ. I went immediately to the pharmacy and I got Biafine, which is a very well-known French burn relief cream that helps you heal from burns faster. So got that on, took a nap, and then met up with my friend Arthur for dinner. We went to his favorite ramen place called Ishin Ramen, and it was super delicious. But tell me why they have the actual Fushimi Inari shrine as decoration. Obviously not the actual, but whatever. I'm like, hello. And I was at the real Fushimi Inari shrine last year, so it's kind of crazy. But then after we grabbed drinks at this darling place called Bel Ami, and the beer that I had there actually saved my life. Like, I was actually dehydrated, feeling like sock off. And it was so delicious. But yes, and then the next day was the ever so famous Louvre Day. I grabbed a quick breakfast at this super cute place nearby called Café Joyeux. Joyeux? Is that how you say joy? Well, they had a great breakfast deal. So for 16 euros, you get one drink, one croque monsieur, and then one pastry. It's like, okay. That was delicious, and I felt ready to experience the friggin' Louvre, man. I entered through the Carousel du Louvre, which is the easier to get in entrance, as opposed to the main glass pyramid. So I recommend that. It took about 10 minutes of standing online to truly get in. Once I got in, it's like, okay, let's hit the major pieces first. Let's hit the Venus de Milo, let's hit Nike, let's hit Mona Lisa, and let's just meander after that. There's a quote about the Louvre, that the Louvre will not let you leave until you've seen everything that you wanted to see. And I cannot attest to that more. I was there for 4 hours, bro, 4 hours. And I think I sat once, because it was just like all so beautiful. And I'm just like, this is amazing to witness, like just basking in some art and being there by myself. I have this rule when I'm in museums by myself that I don't listen to music and I don't listen to audio guides. I would like to listen to audio guides, but it's just all too much for me. I just like to take in the art, and that's exactly, what's worked for me so far. The bustle of the museum is enough for me. That's my music. I highly recommend, if you have time, to just generally read, but if you're heading to Paris and the Louvre soon, to read Adventures in the Louvre, How to Fall in Love with the World's Greatest Museum by Elaine Sciolino. I had maybe 5% of knowledge about the Louvre before I read this book. And after reading this book, I felt like I had 30% because there's so much in the Louvre. But it really gave me so much to understand, especially about the bigger pieces like the Mona Lisa, Venus de Milo, and Nike, or the Victory of Samothrace. But I obviously knew about the Louvre because of Beyonce. Hello. And the famous Ape Shit music video of 2018. It was just an absolutely amazing experience. I can't wait to go there again. And even if you don't like art, even if, you think you know everything about art, you have to go to the Louvre and just meander and wander and get lost and feel like, I don't know, going there alone makes me feel like I'm turning into like one of the art pieces and I'm just stuck on the wall and no one can see me. Except people did see me. Tell me why this Louvre employee asked me out and he was probably like 60 years old. What the hell? I'm looking for the Mona Lisa, babe. Okay. A regular museum goer asked me out as well. So I guess I really did jump off the wall. You know what I mean? It really does feel like you are active in the artwork around you, and it just feels like I was a statue and then I was given life to walk around the Louvre, and once I leave I'll be turned back into a statue. But it was unreal, and I have no more to say about that. After I finished my 4-hour amazing tour of the Louvre, I passed by the gardens that are right next to the Louvre, but I cannot pronounce. It starts with a T. I got stuck there for like an extra 30 minutes than I had planned because it was all just so beautiful. And again, these statues that are just standing around these gardens are the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But I did have an intention, which was to buy my Longchamp bag. So I'd gone to one store, they had the color that I wanted sold out. Then they tell me to go to this other store. I go to the store, I buy the one that I want, but they're like, we don't do the gold stamping here. You need to go to another store. So I go to that store. I drop it off there. And then I go take a nap. So once I finished my nap, I was like, okay, let's go to Notre Dame and Sainte-Chapelle. But they both close before sunset, and I didn't think about that. I was like, oh, the sun is up, they're open. But the sunset in summer in Paris is 9:30 p.m. So I had a lovely, lovely dinner at Hanoi 1988, which is on that little island where Sainte-Chapelle and Notre Dame is. Could not recommend it more. I ate outside and the view was amazing. Then I walked along the river after my meal and I sat down by the river as the Parisians do. They were playing this music nearby me and I turned, it was these local Parisian gays and I tapped them on the shoulder. I was like, what song is this? I need that. I will put my Paris playlist in the description of this video so you guys can tap into the Parisian music of it all. I went to see Notre Dame after that, once the sun set, so I could see it lit up at night. And that was also similar to the Eiffel Tower. It's you should see the Notre Dame at night and during the day because it's two completely different experiences. But the next day, my 5th day, was my hotel moving day. So I ran around Montmartre after I had checked out of the hotel. Got some souvenirs, got my photo booth picture, past the Place du Théâtre where they do portraits. Went to this little souvenir store called Le Singe Quilit. It reminds me of Friends in Brooklyn. If you know, you know. But then I had done some errands, I guess picking up my Longchamp bag, and then I had gone to Notre Dame and seen the inside. Absolutely amazing. I was crying. For no particular cathartic reason, it was just beautiful. Everything was beautiful. It brought me to tears. And then I went to leave, and I'm like, hold up. I think I want to go to the roof. So I inquire about the roof. Notre Dame recently reopened to the public in September, I think, of last year, of 2025. So it's okay, we need to do this. And I asked the lady, I was like, hey, I don't have a reservation. Can I still go up? And she's like, oh, yes, many people are not coming because it is a heat wave. I was like, perfect, we're going. And she's like, ask me those questions that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you have water? I was like, kind of. No, I just finished my water. But I'm okay. I'm ready. And that was just unreal to see all of Paris from the top of Notre Dame, to see the gargoyles. Oh my God. The gargoyles were my favorite part, honestly. they just look so alive, and it reminds me of, loving Notre Dame the movie as a kid, and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm here. So I highly recommend. It is 438 steps, but just get started on the Stairmaster now and you'll be good to go. After that is when I had the McDonald's that saved my life. Thank you, Notre Dame McDonald's. And for my last dinner, I had gone to Le Grand Épicerie, which is maybe like an Erewhon Whole Foods for Paris. And they just have it's a boutique grocery store, but it's pretty huge. Things are normally priced, but you can find things that are really expensive. So I got a multigrain baguette, I got some strawberries, I got some cooked ham, I got some chocolate, some cheese, some butter, and I headed to Jardin du Luxembourg for my last meal, for my last dinner. And just walking through that park was already just amazing to experience. You seeing all of Paris and how they move in this park. And just seeing people move benches to make them fit as tables, seeing people eating on those makeshift tables or playing cards, and you're just experiencing all of Paris in this beautiful, beautiful park at sunset. So I'm just eating my beautiful meal, just taking it all in, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. I can taste the butter and the baguette right now. Oh my God. You need to visit all the parks. At least make it a priority to see the parks in Paris, because the Luxembourg Gardens are unbelievable. It really reminds you that Paris and France just lives in this grandeur feeling, and I think that I was born to live in grandeur, so I felt right at home. So I went home, I went to my hotel, and I got ready for my last day, which was tomorrow, to fly out on May 27th. And, I was not joking. I had some last minute shopping that I needed to do. And I hopped on the bus, which, first of all, the buses, honestly, were my savior throughout this whole trip. And in New York, I hate riding the bus. I feel like, obviously, traffic, craziness. I hate being on the bus. I'd rather take the subway. But the Parisian bus was amazing. They are clean, they're well designed. There's 3 exits on some of these buses, so all the way in the back you can get out. You don't have to walk through and step down the New York buses. Is amazing. So I go to the Opera House. I get some cute little keychains and goodies there. My second stop was this delicious matcha store called Source Matcha, and they actually have a automatic stone mill that grinds the matcha. Hello? And that was a delicious, delicious stop. I had a strawberry matcha there. And of course, last but not least, my final destination was this local brand called Kate Lee. And I saw this bag through a TikTok recommendation a week before my trip. And I could not stop thinking about it. It was permeating my dreams and my present thoughts. I had to go. And it was very close to the Source Matcha place. So I went to the store and I told myself, and the lady who worked there was if I had $1 million, I would buy this whole store. And that still stands. So if YouTube works out, I'm buying that whole store. Okay. There's just no greater feeling than walking around Paris with multiple shopping bags on your arms and just listening to amazing music and just listening to Addison Rae and thinking to yourself I made it. I low-key made it. For my last meal, for my last lunch, was this place close to my hotel called Bombi's Cafe. And they were super, super sweet. And I had my first full in French exchange asking me if I wanted to stay to eat or to drink. I was like, okay, I know this now. Okay, my 6th day here, I know this now. But they were super, super sweet. So I had a nice Caesar salad, Aperol Spritz, Coke, and crepes. And then it was time for me to go to the airport. So I stocked up on some French snacks when I got to the airport. It was super close to the Curiat Hotel, literally a 20-minute metro ride. What? And a part of that, I had to walk for 10 minutes. So 10-minute metro ride. Yeah, I got checked in. I was waiting at my gate. And then we boarded the plane, waited around. No one's sitting in my row. And then I hear, close the door, get ready for takeoff. And I'm like, no one's sitting in my row. So, honestly, I just like couldn't believe it. I was like, this is a perfect finale to this beautiful trip. Nobody's sitting around me. Like I can relax and I can stretch. It was honestly like the front part of the plane. Like I was in economy, don't get me wrong, but there were a lot of people who asked to move seats because it was pretty empty, and I honestly think it was because of the flight path change that I talked about in the beginning. Yeah, I took off. I watched A Complete Unknown and Anaconda. I rewatched A Complete Unknown and it just made it so much better. I love that movie. And Anaconda had me dying laughing. There's nothing like a ridiculously funny movie that you didn't know was funny. Obviously with the cast of like Jack Black, Paul Rudd, and that guy from Die Every Wimpy Kid and White Lotus, like obviously it's gonna be funny, and I just couldn't be more grateful for making it home in one piece and having so much beauty surrounding my trip and my experiences. And as soon as we were about to land, you know how they make you open up all the windows. I saw the most beautiful sunset. Just like, wow, I did it. So that was my experience. That was my trip. And I hope that, you know, more people see this and take on solo traveling and know that you can do it. Stepping out of your comfort zone is quite literally one of the hardest things you can do. But if I can do it, you can do it. And if I can do it in Paris, you can do it too. But I just thank Paris for being the most beautiful first solo trip city to experience. I could not believe that I went there, had so much fun, and then now I'm back and I'm making this video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bonsoir. Au revoir.